Hi, everyone. My name is Wal Gathero. I am a climate advocate and the founder of Black Girl Environmentalist. And welcome to the final week of EDF's Climate Conversations Curated. I've been getting together with EDF subject matter experts to demystify environmental work with down to earth conversations about climate solution pathways. This week, I'm so excited to be talking with these two wonderful guests about ecosystems and methane. And we are here with Steve Cochran, EDF's Director for State Affairs, and Tiani Sun, EDF's Climate Scientist. So let's jump right in. I want to start off with you, Steve, if that's all right. So, as EDF's Director for State Affairs, can you talk to us about climate adaptation and its benefits, and then also help us unpack the misconceptions that rural communities don't benefit from climate action policies like clean vehicles and energy?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things, we talk about climate change and global warming and sort of this big picture sense of the entire Earth, and that's important to be able to do that. But the reality is that the impacts that come from these changes happen at home. They happen locally. They happen because an area gets too much rain or too much drought or sea level rise. I'm talking to you today from New Orleans. I live in South Louisiana, where sea level rise is a dominant feature of our daily life. So it's very local in its impacts, and that's why adaptation has to be applied at that level as well. So, in the West, if you pick up the news today, you'll see a story about Arizona having its water from the Colorado River cut by 25% because we're running out of water in the Colorado River, literally. And they're trying to figure out how to distribute it among the states who depend on that for everything from agriculture to drinking water. And so those are local impacts, and the adaptation is about two things. One, it's learning to live with the changes that are already underway that we're already seeing with extreme weather in particular. But it's also planning ahead. It's also trying to, the way we talk about it down here is get ahead of the storm and prepare for what's coming, that we know things are going to be worse for a little while, and prepare for that rather than waiting until after the problem is created, after the storm hits, and where we're working on cleaning up. That's not how you want to be spending your time or your money if you can do that. It's just a critical component of dealing with the world as it is today, this adaptation, and it's something that we're getting smarter at and we're getting better at. We're having to put more resources into, but that's going to help every local area. The question about rural versus urban, if you much of rural America depends on agriculture for its economy, and not only that, but to help feed ourselves and the rest of the world. Agriculture is fundamentally dependent on the weather. If you're a farmer, that's what you've learned to have to do. Now we're changing the rules for every farmer in America and in the world, because the weather's changing. And so you don't know how to plant, you don't know how to plan, you don't know when to get your crops out of the field. Do you need to move now to be able to get them ahead of that storm that's coming? Because it may not be a normal storm anymore. It may put more water on your field than you can handle. All of those things directly affect everything that goes on in rural communities. And it's something that we have to pay real attention to. We have to continue to try to reduce emissions as much as possible. And then we have to learn how to adapt to these changes. So it affects all of us as much as we would love to just say, well, it's just a problem over here. We just don't get to do that anymore.
Absolutely, absolutely. All of these policies do benefit everyone. And I think a huge part of this is also shifting the narrative from the big green end of things to ensure that we are crafting language that is accessible to people across different locations. So a lot of people actually don't know that methane is a major contributor to pollution. So, Tiani, can you talk to us a little bit more about where methane comes from, what it is specifically, and the work that y'all are doing to address it?
Sure. So methane, it is a very potent and a short-lived greenhouse gas. That means it only stays in the atmosphere for about a decade. But over the first 20 years after it's emitted into the atmosphere, it has over 80 times the warming power of carbon dioxide, pound for pound. And that's a really potent gas. These emissions are from human activities account for over a quarter of today's warming. So that has everything to do, methane emissions have everything to do with the impacts that Steve just described. And this is a contribution which is second only to carbon dioxide and far more than any other pollutants emitted today from human activities. And these activities are mostly energy, agriculture, and waste sectors. About 40% from energy, and this is mostly oil and gas, but also some from coal mining. Methane is the main component of natural gas. So natural gas can leak when extracting any type of fossil fuel from underground. And also when you're moving natural gas around through pipelines or in trucks, it can leak methane. And incomplete flaring also releases methane. Another 40% comes from agriculture, and this is mainly from livestock and some from rice. So cows produce methane when they're digesting food. Their manure also emits some methane as it decomposes without much oxygen. And around 20%, the rest of it comes from the waste management, and mostly landfills, but also some from wastewater. The good news is we have known solutions to cut these emissions in half within the next decade. And these solutions are already technically feasible. It's available today. We just really need to act on it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tiani. So I'm going to ask a question to you again, Steve. As we move forward with the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and other huge pieces of climate-related legislation, how will your team specifically be playing a part in this work, and where? Where are our biggest opportunities?
Yeah. So this is the way this whole system works, and then we work as a part of it. These rules or these laws are put in place at the federal level, and in this case, both of these big laws that you referenced, the infrastructure bill as well as the most recently passed bill that really focuses on climate, they deliver some policy, but an awful lot of resources through either direct funding of efforts or tax credits to help spur private sector investment in these directions. So large amounts of resources flowing from the federal system, they flow to states and to local communities and even to NGOs on the ground. And so our job is sort of kind of being the middle person here. We work at the federal level where our policy experts are able to really help develop the rules and the tools that are going to be used to distribute these resources, who's going to get what and what do they need to do to get it, kind of thing. A lot of that's sort of in general in the law. It will be more specifically set, and we'll be a part of that. The other thing that we'll do, because we have people on the ground in a number of states around the country, and we work with people on the ground. So we also will make sure that their voice has an opportunity to affect how the rules and the resources come out in the first place, right? So that they're workable and useful rather than, gee, that seemed like a good idea, but we can't do anything with that, right? That's not helpful to anybody. So we try to help sort of bridge the gap there between what comes out of the federal system and goes to the states. And then at that stage, we're in the business of trying to help these states implement these programs to spend the money wisely and well and make sure that we get the benefits out of it for climate and for communities. That's really what it was intended when it came out of the federal process in the first place. So we sort of go back and forth and back and forth. It's our job to really understand the details of those things as much as possible, and our job to try to make sure, I just make one point here, really more than any time in history, much more than any time in history, we really have an opportunity to make sure that those people on the ground, those communities on the ground who most need the resources, most need support, actually have a chance to get it. I would not have told you that 5 years ago from legislation that was coming out of Washington, but it does that now, and we're continuing to be able to grow in that direction. Now, there are capacity issues there. How do we help people make sure that they can take advantage of some of these programs? Some of this stuff can be very complex or written poorly, or I've seen applications for small NGOs, be 96 pages long, just for a $10,000 or a $25,000 grant. So that's crazy, and nobody's going to do that. Right? Those resources won't get to the ground if we do things like that. So part of our job is to try to make sure that this time these resources really matter, and that they get taken advantage of the way they should, rather than how sometimes we've done it in the past. So big, important opportunity, literally bigger than we've ever had on climate ever, both in the direction of dealing with climate and making sure that these resources can actually help people on the ground. And it's really up to us. I mean, not just us, obviously, everybody who's working on this, but it's really up to those of us who are really engaged in this to make sure that we take advantage this time. We are likely to have another opportunity like this ever, both because the climate science won't let us, unfortunately, and political science probably won't let us either, to be able to do things this big and this well. And so now there's the opportunity to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your leadership. And I thank you for also leaning into the optimism of this moment, of this really unique opportunity that we all have to have a part in. I think our viewers are definitely going to be able to walk away with some more hope, which is something that I think a lot of people don't get to have when they hear conversations regarding climate and environmental work in general. So thank you for that. Tiani, I'd like to ask you this next question. So as a climate scientist at EDF, you research the implications of short-lived climate pollutants on climate change and provide specific scientific guidance. Can you tell us more about who you work to support in this work and common misconceptions that you get?
Yeah, so through my research, I really just try to convey that acting on short-lived climate pollutants, especially methane, as the most prominent one right now, it will really make a difference and it's worth doing. And these measures are already available to us today. We know the biggest opportunity lies in the oil and gas sector, and that can be as simple as plugging natural gas leaks, and is not just straightforward, but also very affordable. And our ability to detect these leaks had advanced so much in recent years, from the handheld instruments to sensors on aircrafts and drones. And now there is a growing universe of satellites designed to measure methane emissions 24/7 from Earth orbit. And some other solutions for agriculture also already exist. New technologies like cattle feed supplements have been proven to cut emission by 30% or even more. So overall, there are already a bunch of strategies exist to cut methane. And collectively, it will not only have great benefit in the near-term temperature and all the temperature-driven impacts that we're already experiencing today, but it also will improve our chance of preserving Arctic sea ice in the long run. So we really try to demonstrate these benefits to support our advocacy on regulations and agreements that will push these methane actions forward. And we also help businesses sort of think through how do they account for their methane emissions and best account for the benefits of reducing them. And in terms of misconceptions, I think the most prevailing one I encountered is probably we don't have to act on methane right now because we'll eventually stop using fossil fuel, or we don't have to deal with it right now because it doesn't build up in the atmosphere, so we can tackle it later. But as we know, over half of the methane emissions from humans are not fossil fuel sources. Also, phasing out fossil fuel will take some time, but we need to reduce methane right now because climate change is already causing devastation around the world, like Steve has talked about. And the faster we can slow down warming, the faster we can avert the worst impacts of climate change. And it's exactly because methane's warming power doesn't come from a gradual sort of build up over time like carbon dioxide. It is mostly entirely from recent emissions. So if we could cut emissions today, we can dramatically slow down the rate of warming in the next couple of decades. And that's something that only methane could do.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tiani, for that. So we've now reached our final question, and this will be directed to both of you. So Tiani and Steve, how can our followers and audience get to know and connect with your work beyond this conversation?
Yeah, so I don't do research alone. I work at a larger climate science team here at EDF and collaborate on many other folks at EDF. So I think the best way is to just follow EDF's work on climate, and you see my name here and there in climate science research. And you can also visit my website at tsun-climate.org to learn about my research there. Feel free to reach out too.
It's it has become much easier over the years for people to be able to get in touch and get engaged. And the simplest way that you always hear is just use website, because there's an awful lot of information there. But edf.org is absolutely the place to go. You can find Tiani, you can find me. We're easy to find. Just to write our names down now, and then you can find us easily. But you can also find a tremendous amount of resources there. We are now working in as I said, a number of states around the country, and I won't list them all here, but in most of the states, you'll be able to find EDF if you look locally as well. But I'd start with edf.org and then go from there, and just reach out, as Tiani said, and we'll follow up.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tiani and Steve. Thank you for your leadership and all the incredible work that you're doing at EDF and beyond. And I'm so excited for our audience to follow along to see what else is going on. So with that, my time hosting this conversation series has come to an end, but it's clear that we all have a role to play in advancing climate action. If you haven't seen all 4 curated conversations, take some time to watch the 3 other installations. You definitely won't be disappointed. And you can also get involved by becoming an EDF member and joining the work being done at edf.org, as you both just talked about, and on social media. Whether it's environmental justice or agriculture and ecosystems, EDF and their over 800 staff members around the world are working to ensure a vital earth for everyone. Although the weather is getting more extreme and stakes couldn't be higher, every day EDF is advancing equity with tremendous work, and we hope that these conversations make it a little easier to understand. Again, I'm Awa Gathero, and it's been a pleasure hosting these conversations. Thank you so much for joining us.